Hi guys. Thanks so much for joining. Hi Megan. Got a couple more there watching. Hi guys. Thanks for coming again. Randy, hi. So we've got our Pop Manga Coloring Book page to finish today, hopefully. And Melissa, hi Melissa. It's actually 9:30 in the morning here on a Monday morning, so excuse the Monday-itis voice. So I've got Shadow the cat watching in the background, so I'm sure she's going to make some noise at some stage today again. So a couple of things. We already finished the skin and the hair in the previous two videos. Just off camera, I finished off the hair by flattening it out with the Caran d'Ache full blender, and I also put a couple of little highlight areas through here just to highlight that shine on the front of the hair there. So I just did that off the camera to finish it off. So I've got my little conversion chart here from Prisma to Polys, but I think I've already picked out colors, so I'll be able to sort of give them to you. But if you're interested in having some of these color charts, I've popped the link in the description already, so you can have a look at that. Also, too, I wanted to mention, a lot of people ask me how I pick my colors, and I just use a color wheel. So I've actually got a couple of color wheels. One is the paper version, and I've also got an electronic version. So I'll show you the electronic version. Excuse my phone with all my little notifications and everything, but it's called Color Wheel, and I've also popped the link for this one in the description as well because it's really handy. I use it for picking colors. You know, if I'm stuck on something like this particular one, I've already sort of started and I had no plan in what colors to do. So I've kind of picked this tetradic color scheme. So I've got purple, blue, pink, and then green and yellow. So what I'm actually going to do is I was thinking of doing this as a plum blossom. With a plum blossom, the actual leaves are kind of burgundy colored, but I've decided just to do them green for the sake of the color wheel. And I'm going to do the flowers pink and white. And the butterflies at the top here, I'm going to do some blues, and I'm going to put some yellow eyes. Some butterflies have those little eye-looking patterns on their back, so I'm going to do that in yellow to have this color scheme going here. So if you're interested, this is a free app. It's awesome. You can have it on quite, you know, I guess more in depth for you. I've got my notifications coming through. Or you can have it so it's just, you know, normal single color wheel there. So you've got lots of different types of color schemes that you could go with, but it sort of gives you the colors that will go together really good in a picture. So if you tend to go for that kind of color scheme, you'll find that it'll be more appealing to the eye. So just something to keep in mind there. Hi, Jackie. Thanks for joining us. So any questions in regards to that before I move on to colors quickly? I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, I think. I'm a bit far away from the camera there. Okay. All right, so I've already written out the color conversion, so I'll let you know what colors to use in Polys as I go. So I did do a few searches on Pinterest today and had a look up the blossoms, and a lot of them have, you know, black little sort of centers with perhaps a bright color in the middle, and most of them are white. So I'm just going to use some really bright pinks and white and just sort of go in and do that. So what I thought I might do is, because I wanted to try and get most of this finished today, so I'll do half this side so that we can at least get the colors out for you, and then I'll do a couple of the butterflies as well, just so that we can get most of it done today, and you guys who are following along can finish it off and finish off the other side later on, and I'll finish the rest off on camera, and I'll put it all together as a speed coloring in the next 2 weeks or so. So I'll do it that way. Now, Randy, you just asked about contacting Sarah. I put all the links in the description, but I've talked to her mainly through Instagram. So I've sent her a message through Instagram. She may be busy or have stuff on, but that's where I usually speak with her. So hopefully you'll be able to get through to her at some stage. So I'm just going to pop all my bits away and we'll have a look at starting this off. So I've already, I'll start on the flowers, I think. I've decided to go with Dahlia Purple, Process Red, and Neon Pink. I love this color. So there is no Neon Pink in Polychromos, so I just put in that you could probably use maybe light magenta, or a neon color of a different brand, just to sort of make it stand out a bit. Process Red, I've put fuchsia as the Polychromos equivalent, and for the Dahlia Purple I've put light red violet. So if you think that there's another color that will go in for the Polychromos, then by all means change it over, of course. So I've just sort of done a rough estimate off my little color wheels there. Okay, so because there's already black in the middle of them, I'm just going to use that darker color there just to sort of do some shadow. So I'm just going to roughly put in, I'm sort of using a bit of medium pressure here around the outside and through into the middle. And what we'll do is we'll come in with a darker pencil to go over any more black that's in there already. But we just want to create some shadow. So just being nice and quick here. Into the middle and around the edges there. Oh, there we go, broken it already. Probably on the wrong angle there. Although this Dahlia Purple is way better than my other one. I had another one that's about this big now, and every time I sharpened it would break. It drove me crazy. Sometimes that happens. So if you don't want to use this color scheme, don't use it either. Also, if you don't have the picture, use it on anything that you like. Use the combos for anything. So, but just make sure you pick a dark, a mid-tone, and then a light color so that you've got the same sort of blend mix. Now, so each of those petals are sort of overlapping each other, so you can see here they're sort of overlapping. That one there is overlapping that other one. So I'm going to put shadows behind all of those sections now. That one's got a butterfly wing over it. I'm going to put a fairly deep shadow on that because that petal's actually leaning over that flower there. Deeper shadow on that side as well. So I know there's a couple of people that were following along. If you, a couple of tagged me on Instagram. It's really good to see them. Nearly finished. And that one there's got a shadow. I just realized I wasn't sitting in my chair correctly. I would have ended up with a sore back. All right. That one's shaped a little strange. I'm going to use the processed red, and I'm just going to go out from there over the top of that color and just sort of extend it out a little bit, but just sort of flicking a few lines out there because we're going to actually blend that in with the white anyway, but I just want to put a little bit of color into the middle section around those petals. And the ones that are fairly dark, I'm just putting it sort of over the top of it. Can you see that well enough there? The camera seems really foggy to me. Just give me 2 secs. Perhaps too much light. Tried that now. I'm doing fairly light pressure. So those of you that were around on Friday for the Henna giveaway, I actually finished the Red Riding Hood picture, so that should hopefully be up soon. And I still haven't figured out how I'm giving away that book. I just missed a little bit of that shadow there. So it's funny how this one's called Process Red because it's really quite bright pink. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit more. Whoa, hello. Does that make that a little bit easier? Move down a little bit. I'm actually going to smudge most of this color into the white, so a lot of it, you're not going to see any of the details because it'll be all blended over. Just getting that color into the middle of the petal. So it gives it a little bit of depth and shape, I guess. Okay, so the neon pink, I'm just going to do the same thing. Just using really light pressure, kind of rounding it off a little bit. Just using little sort of lines, strokes outwards. Some of them sort of go out right to the edge, but most will stop short of the edge there. And what I'll do is I'm going to use the white to blend, but I'm going to start from the very tip so that I don't smudge in the colour on the tips of the flowers, because I want them to stay kind of white. So we'll start from that section, and sometimes I'll even have to wipe off my white pencil to make sure it stays clean and doesn't smudge in the next one. You can see I'm kind of leaving that edge part there now. And I've missed a tiny little bit of shadow there. Just go back in. I'm just trying to be very careful and leave that edge part. White space is your friend sometimes. It gives the picture depth, dimension, and highlight, so it's good to keep some white space. Even with markers, it's the same. I like to sometimes keep white space just so that you can see the texture and the dimension in it. There we go. Getting there slowly. Something like this usually would take me a few hours to do. So did anyone got any questions while I'm colouring away here? Anything that you wanted to ask or curious about? Ask away. Gives me something to talk about. I'm hoping that everyone can see the chat option, by the way. There is a little button usually underneath the video. There might be a couple of like ads first, and then scrolling down to the bottom, there should be an option to see live chat. So if you haven't been able to see it, have a look and see if you can find that. Just moving down to the bottom ones. Camera's wobbling a bit there, sorry. Megan just asked about reference pictures for colors and things like that. So yeah, I do try to, if I know what type of flower it is, I'll try to have a look and see, you know, what colors that they are. And because usually nature, it's just random, but I guess it's not random, it's by design. In nature, the colors that are actually in nature naturally are usually beautiful together. So I really do like to try and use, you know, natural colors because they tend to look really good. But just with that, just doing watercolors at the moment, I just realizing though that you do have to be careful of what you use for reference, because some references that you may use when you're actually copying a picture could actually be another artist's work. So there are websites available where you can find stock photos where it's not doesn't belong to anybody, so you can use it in your artwork however you like, however you please, and you can also use them commercial. So it'll say Creative Commons 0 on it if you can use it, which is a really good idea. There's a couple of websites that I've been looking at lately, so I can pop them in the description as well if you're interested in that. But for just picking colors and things like that, just looking at reference photos is a good idea. So I've got my white. As I said, I'm going to start on the very edge. Of course, I've just broken it. Try that again. Start on the very edge. And I'm just going to use circular motions over the top of that. Just make sure the pencil's clean before you move on to the next one. Just going on the very tip. I'm putting firmer pressure on now, just doing circular motions. So we're trying to sort of blend the colours in together. It is really hard to see there. Let me see if I can brighten it up a bit. Contrast. Helps if you have a good camera, but smudging my pencil out there. I don't know where my electric eraser's gone, so I've just got a kneadable eraser. Some of that white went over there. I'm just going to leave the middle section for now. I'm just doing the petals. So can you see how that sort of blended in? You can see some of the texture lines, but you can't really sort of they're not prominent, I guess. They're sort of smooth and blended in. I'm even doing the white over the shadow areas because that pencil's quite dark. It's still going to give the effect of a shadow. It's hard keeping that pencil clean, especially with that Dahlia purple being so bright. I still have a Nicholas Filbert picture from Serene there to finish live as well. I keep forgetting about it because it's up in my book, tucked away. Just wiping that off again. I've just got a piece of paper underneath and I'm just wiping it off on that. It's actually a big, thick A3 scrap paper thing. You know, kids' cheap scrapbook paper. just to lean on. Gives me some scribble area when I need to wipe off pens or markers or pencils. And it gets pretty dirty. I just find when I'm using or working on a page that's just single page like this, it's good to have something softer underneath to put pressure on so you don't get any indentation lines or anything from whatever you're using underneath. So I'm putting fan pressure on and I'm moving quite slowly because I don't want to break my pencil. So being more deliberate and slower is helping not to break it. Oh, so much easier with markers, hey? Kind of a flip side though, using pencils to marker. Pencils, I find, tend to be a lot more vibrant sometimes. Depends on what colours you're using, I guess. Any of the tooth that you do miss, you can go over it with that full blender and just blend that out so it's nice and soft. So there's no sort of fluffy lines. Looks like I've lost internet there for a sec. That's a little frustrating. So just looking at the chat here, try not to get intimidated. Just give it a go. You know, we buy and we spend money on books and things like that. So, you know, why not give it a go? I think I've said it before. You know, if you don't like how it comes out, then don't show anyone. But the more that you do, just give it a go, the more confident that you will get in giving it a go. So guys, don't get me wrong. I love using pencil. I just struggle with arthritis, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So it tends to take me a lot longer to do a pencil version of anything. So generally, I'll end up grabbing my markers if I want something done fairly quickly. But I'm learning. I'm I'm learning. I've learnt that if I was to do a image in an A5 size rather than A3 size, that it's a lot quicker and easier for me to do it with pencil, which is a good thing. So yeah, we learn to adapt to our situation, I think. Getting pencil all over the place here. Almost done with this top part. Definitely not going to get time to finish the other side, but we'll get a couple of butterflies done and then you guys can finish it off on your own. There we go. Go back to the bottom ones. So they're looking quite good. They're really nice and blended and smooth, and they're bright. If you've just joined us, welcome. Thanks for coming along. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't seen anything before that I've done, I've got heaps of videos. So if you go to the actual channel page and you click on videos, it'll bring up the most recent videos. I think there's actually over 100 and something videos, nearly 200 videos I think I've got now. Some of them are Patreon only, so you can only access them if you're a patron. So because I had my pencil nice and sharp, I've still got plenty of lead left, which is good. But for the smaller creases, the lead's getting a little bit thick, so I'm going out the lines a little bit. Those things can be fixed up later. Getting very, very close to the bottom. Because it's so zoomed in, I have to keep checking the camera to make sure it's still in the view. So before I go over it with the Caran d'Ache Full Blender, I'm going to actually go back in and just deepen up the shadows a little bit. So I've got the Dahlia purple again. I'm just going to go over those black lines and just go over the middle section a bit more. We might not even have to go in with black pencil because it's quite a nice rich color. I think I'll probably just leave that actually. It looks good. Sometimes I'll play around and put more color in, but I think they're actually pretty good. Could possibly put a little highlight of yellow in there if you wanted. And you could also leave out the purple and just use the pink. But I wanted it to sort of go in with the hair, so I have done the purple as well. I'm just going back over those artist drawn lines just to deepen up those shadows. Did I get that off camera? Sorry. I might have to zoom out again. There we go. Sorry about the camera. I'm back. All right. there. I'm just going to sharpen that tiny little bit. No, I'm going to make lots of noise with my little froggy sharpener. Got a really fine point, and I'm just going to go around these shadow. Really fine point. I just snapped. It's all good. Just around these shadow areas. I don't want them to blend out too much, so I don't want them to be too thick. And yes, I just broke it again. Still sharp. So in there. Oh, we missed a little bit of the flower there. More of the white section. So for the I had a bit of a discussion actually with one of the girls in the group. We weren't sure if this was actually hair or if it was actual twigs. So I'm just going to put it together as being part of the twigs. So in saying that, I'm thinking maybe I might just do it purple and put a little bit of black through it, so that they look a little bit like part of a tree. So I'm just going to put the Dahlia purple on the sort of bottom edge of each of these sections here. That were left. And I'm just going to use a little bit of black. Maybe, if I can find it. Why can you never find things when you want them? There it is, hiding. Just got black. Just going to go in around the sections that I didn't do. Just still using lighter pressure here. Bit of hair on there. And I'm just going to blend it off with the Caran d'Ache blender, which is all dirty. So let me just clean it. So I've got the full blender. Usually it comes in a big long stick, but this has been broken about 50 times. I can prove it. Look. These are all my little pencils. So I've got tons of tiny little whites. And these are the blender pieces that I've got left. Yeah, Shadow likes to do that. She's a bit of a ninja. Just going to go over that. So it'll be dark, but you'll still be able to see the purple through there. Now, how are we going time-wise? I really need to start on a butterfly for you guys. So I'm going to do the same on the other side later on. So it kind of blends in with the hair, but it is a little bit different to the hair. So actually, let's do a leaf while we're down here, and then I can move on to a butterfly. So I'll do one section here, and then you guys can sort of do the rest yourself, just so that we can get it finished, because I know that it's tough. Okay, so let's go with what colors I'm using now. Getting carried away now. So I'm using olive green for the shadow areas of the leaves. I'm trying to make the leaves a little bit of a yellow green, so I'm going to keep them nice and bright, but I still need a bit of a shadow color, so I picked the olive green. In the Polychromos, the equivalent I've picked was permanent green olive, so if you're using polys. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to line the middle, and we'll just create a little bit of texture Some of them have lines in them, but not all of them. So we'll just create a little bit of texture. Some lines out. So there's already sort of dips in the leaf. So I'm just kind of, I guess, accentuating those and bringing a line out towards them. Same here. Just sort of bending the line the way the leaf's bending. And behind this leaf here, that's actually laying over the top of this one. So I'm just going to go behind there and make that a little bit darker on that edge. Use fairly firm or medium to firm pressure. Thickening them up a little bit now. I'm going to leave that very edge quite light, but I'm going to do another. You saw that okay? Next color I'm going to use is the apple green, and the equivalent I picked was leaf green in the Polychromos. So the leaf green is actually a little bit darker than the apple green, but there isn't an actual match, so it's hard to do sometimes matching up colors like that, but it's close. I'm just going to go over the top of this one and extend it out a little bit, so it's a lot brighter than the olive green. And I'm just going to pick, say, the bottom or the top of each of these lines. So in this case, I'll probably do the bottoms and just sort of put this color underneath the bottom of those dark lines that I've put in. Just going to, in the middle section, I'm just doing it on both sides. And then on the bottom there. So I'll usually pick which to do the top or the bottom first. And then you know that each color after that's going to stay blending out towards the bottom. So there, I've started to put that color in, extending it a little bit now. So we'll choose the bottom of this as well, or to the left if you have it on the side. This one will be to the right. Does that make sense? I'll just try and zoom in a little bit again, just on that leaf. It's as far in as I can go. So we used the olive green in the very center, and then I thickened up the line a little bit so it was nice and thick. And also we did underneath that there to create that shadow. I'm just doing it a little bit darker now actually, because it was sort of faded out a bit. This, actually putting this dark part here will actually lift this leaf off. And then I grabbed the apple green and I just did the left side of each of those lines. And then the right, well, the underneath the right side here. And then I did the same, so underneath each of those lines. And then I've got spring green, and the equivalent I picked for spring green was light green, in the Polychromos. I will pop them up in the description at the end as well. And I'm just going to go and cover up most of the color. I'm going to leave the tips slightly white. So I'm just going underneath over the top of that previous color. And you can see there's a slight little piece of white left. How's that looking? Okay, and then just going to clean off my white again. Get rid of that purple. And then I'm going to use the white to make those edge bits a little bit lighter and to soften the edge of the green. Making that a little lighter on that shadow edge there is going to make it stand out too. I quite like having a white sort of area against this nice dark background too. I'm just going into where the white was and just sort of blending out towards the dark. How's that? Nice and simple. Use your blender again if you've still got some tooth. I'm just going to pop down some of that because there was some fluffy lines in the darker color there. It's now nice and smooth. Done. I'm getting white pencil everywhere. And I find my eraser that shadow's hidden on me. I'll be able to fix that up a bit. You can just go over it too with the marker again. Just keep in mind though, when you go over the pencil with the marker, it can get on the nib of your marker. So that'll do for the leaves, and I'm going to just do that on all of the rest of the leaves, and we'll do that on all the flowers. But for now, we'll leave it, and we'll move on to a butterfly, and then you guys can sort of follow what I've done again and do it on the remainder. It looks so cool. I love it when it starts to come together. I actually like to watch the speed coloring sometimes because I don't get to see it all put together because you're doing it part by part, so it's nice to have a look. Now, the butterfly I've decided to do blue, but I wanted to keep it kind of a light blue. So where do I start? I think we might actually start in the middle of the little, I'm going to call these eyes because I looked up a few butterflies this morning and I found a couple that I quite liked. So I might just show you on my photo thing here. I quite like that these are nice and bright. So we've got a little bit of orange or yellow here and then a darker blue there. And then I'll do some blue through the butterfly. It'll be a bit brighter than that though. So yeah, there's lots of different ideas, but that's what I decided to go for. So let's do the darker yellow first of all on the top of the eyes. So I'll do it all on the top of these eyes here. I'm going to bring it back in again. Well, hello. Okay. So I'm going to start on this big one here. So let's do dark. Oh, color. Duh. Spanish orange. I picked for the Polychromos color a dark chrome yellow. I'm using firm pressure straight away. And I'm just going to release and lighten off that pressure just down to the bottom there. Just like that. So heavy at the top, heavy at the top, and then just release that pressure. Now, the reason we do that is so that this next color will blend over nicely. I've picked Canary yellow. So for the Polychromos version, I would do cadmium yellow. And I'm just going to do firm pressure on the, no, I'm going to break it again. Firm pressure on the edge and just release that pressure down further. I'm going over that previous color. You can't hardly tell the difference between them, but it is a little bit lighter. And then I'm going to grab Indanthrone blue, or Indanthrone blue, however you say it. And I picked equivalent dark indigo for the Polychromos, and I'm just going to do a bit of a oval. Just like that. So we've got our little eyes. Now with that Indanthrone blue, I'm just going to go into all of the shadow areas and over those dark lines that are already marked out. Medium to firm pressure. Now I was discussing this part up here, and I think this is like butterfly wings behind, so I'll probably do just sort of put in some colors like it was a butterfly wing. Each of those was maybe separate, but it could actually be hair. What do you guys think? I'm not sure. So I'll just keep going around this butterfly here while you guys have a think about that. Just leaving this top edge there with the white. Okay, so I'm going to do all of the top sections. Spanish orange again. Some yellow. Canary yellow. Okay, so we've got a bit of half and half with the top part there. I have no idea what it is, but I think I'm just going to do it blues and yellow as well, I guess. Just putting my little eye on the bottom of these. Oh, I've done them out the wrong way. Look at that. I'm a silly girl. It's all good. Can all be fixed. Happy mistake. Okay. Now I'm going to use some denim blue, which equivalent I picked Helio Blue Reddish for polys. Just going to come in. I'm going to use streaks, just skipping the eye parts. So just like we did with the hair, I'm just bringing my pencil. I'm actually using my fingers more than my wrist, just to sort of mention that. I'll move it out a bit so you can see. So I'm just using my fingers like this. So I'm not moving my wrist, I'm just using my fingers, and I'm just sort of flicking down. And then I'm going to flick up from the other way. I'll move in again now so you can see. Hello again. So some of those sections are actually joining up and some of them aren't. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So just come. These middle sections are going to more meet in between, and then obviously they're not going to where the little eye parts are. a different angle to the other wing, so it's going to look slightly different, a little bit shorter. Okay, and I'm going to do the same on the bottom section of these areas as well. So we'll go from the top there down, and then from the bottom up. Okay, now the next color I've got is Caribbean Sea or Caribbean Blue. I'm going to use sky blue as an equivalent for Polychromos. So I don't know if you've ever actually noticed. Actually, I might just point that out. So this is my, let me just zoom out again for you. This is my Polychromos color chart. Have a look how many greens there are. There's a lot of greens in that one. But look at the blues. There's hardly any blues. There's like this little section of blue. And when you have a look at the Prismacolor ones, there's tons of blues in there. But there's only a limited amount of greens, I feel. Like there's not as much of a choice for green as there is with the Polychromos. So it's funny how completely different sets though, like how they compare, I guess is what I was trying to say. So have you ever noticed that before? They've both got just about the same amount of greys and other sometimes useless colors, but you know. Anyway, let's go back. I'm using Caribbean Sea, which equivalent would be sky blue, or as close as I could get anyway. I'm going to move back in again and zoom in for you. All right, let's zoom in. Megan was just saying that that looks a little bit like a thumb. It does a little bit, doesn't it? That's the nail and that's the finger part. Anyway, it's not. It is butterfly. Okay, so let's go back to this blue. So this is a really quite light blue. So we're just going to go keep flicking again with the pencil, going over the top of that dark blue and just bringing that up. I'm not going to bother about going all the way close to that eye bit because I'm going to put some white in there anyway. We'll bring it up close to it. And then back this way. I'm going over the darker blue to sort of lighten that off a little bit. So it's going to look nice and shiny because once we put that white on and blend that through a bit, that will be the highlight. Coming into the other side now. Now I'm thinking we might actually go around this with blue, the light blue, Caribbean Sea, just extending that out, just using circular motions to cover over all of that. Use white on the very top edge. Am I on camera? I keep losing that camera, don't I? It's zoomed so far in. I think that's actually part of one of these other butterflies underneath, so I'm going to leave that one. Let's just do light in the middle here as well. Okay, so I've got my white. Let's just blend that out. So I'm just following the line still, but using it to blend it out. Clean off my pencil. I want this top part to be white, so I'm just going to stretch that up. Just be careful there because that dark's going to just get in the way. You could also use the white gel pen or the gouache to go over that later on, just to brighten it up. So you're just putting it on the very edge bit there. But just blending that out a little bit more. Use the full blender or Prism blender, whichever one that you use, to flatten off the tooth on those dark areas. I'm just going to use a white to go over that blue so it's nice and light and so it's nice and smooth. I've just blended in some of that dark colour, so I'm just going to rub that off a bit. So how's that looking? I think it looks pretty cool. Groovy. Right in there. I'm going to put some black back in too, so come and do that in a moment. Just colour off this one. You see that okay? I think we're kind of running out of time now. It's been an hour. I don't like to spend much more of your time. Just finishing off that. And hopefully I've shown you guys enough to sort of finish that off. Like that. Just grab that blender. I'm going to do the black, the middle part here black, and I'm going to re-go over these sections here as well. We'll just flatten off that tooth first so there's no sort of fuzzy bits around. Just trying to be careful of those eyes too. If you want, if it's too detailed, maybe do the eyes last. But I don't want to smudge that blue over the top of it. I always love using this blender over the top of prisms because it just seems to brighten them up more. It's pretty awesome. Looks fantastic. Where am I gone? Over here. Upside down. Clean off the blender. So guys, if you've got any questions while I'm finishing off this butterfly, please ask away, because sometimes, you know, you've been dying to ask something and haven't. So if you don't get to ask in here, or we finish up before, or you think of something afterwards, you can also join the Facebook group, which is in the description below. Also, you can go and have a look at Patreon as well. That's in the description. You can follow me now on Instagram, Twitter, and Vero. And you can ask questions on there too. We've also got a Facebook page. So I've also put the link to the Amazon, an Amazon link for this book as well. And also there's a little few links there of things that I like to use as well, because some people seem to ask, so why not pop it in there? And now my black's disappeared again. Let me just find my black. Back over. Okay, black, I'm just going to redo the tips. You could do this with a fine liner. You don't have to use the black pencil because black can smudge. So just grab my fine liner. Really bad internet today. I've got a couple of different sizes of these micron ones. Just this one's a 0.5. It's not actually that thin. It's fairly thick, but it's okay for doing stuff like this. I'm just going to make that nice and black. Put some little tentacle things out there. What are they? Little antennae. I'm off camera, there you go. I'm going to line the butterfly just to sort of make that lighter color pop. There we go. I'm going to go back in with some white gel pen as well and just neaten up those highlighted edges. Might actually use a pencil for that. Okay, I'm going to pull back out again so you can see how it looks from a distance. So this, pretend that side's done. So yeah, all I'm going to do is repeat the same steps on this side so that the rest of the image is finished off. So as I said, I really wanted to get that done so you could at least get those parts done. The Indanthrone Indanthrone blue, I'm just going to come in and just go around that bottom of the eye there because it wasn't very soft. Just like that, and I think I'm quite happy with that. I'm just going to double check you've got no questions there before I turn off cam. With the red smudging onto other colors, someone just said they're having issues with the red smudging. I find I have trouble with black and the darker colors, but I tend to try and do them last if I can to stop them from smudging. And I try to use my brush rather than my hand, because when you put your hand over it, it's actually warm, so it actually softens off that wax more and smudges it more. So yeah, try and use a dusting brush if you can, especially with those darker colors. Also too, I find that once I've pushed the tooth down and covered it with the full blender, it stops it from smudging as much because it's coated with that wax. So that's something that can help as well. Also too, with smudging, if I'm finding that I'm smudging like the color over the rest of the image, I'll put a blank piece of paper under my hand so that I don't smudge my color, or I'll turn my picture so I'm not leaning on other color. So this section here, I've gone over with the full blender and it's not even coming up on my finger now. So the tooth's completely flattened off and it's actually put a coating over the top of it to stop it from bleeding or smudging now. So this one I probably haven't gone over quite enough yet, but once we go over and coat it with that, it should stop that smudging a little bit more. However, it does happen. So generally when you're doing a thick layer, you'll get a little bit of smudging as well. So I just lay a piece of paper down under my hand to stop me from sort of rubbing my hand over that there. So I think she's going to look really good once we get all this done. We've still got our main, purple is our main sort of theme, or purple pink, isn't it? It's not really purple, but, and then we've just got our little accents with a bit of green and a bit of the blue as well there. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'm going to finish it off, and I've just realized I've smudged that black into there, but that's all right, we'll fix it up. I will finish videoing the rest of it, and I'll put it up all together as a speed coloring so you can see the finished product. So that's it. Guys, thanks so much for hanging around for the hour. It was really great having some conversations there and helping out. So if you've got, as I said, any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And Randy, I'll look into having a chat with Sarah Colours to see if we can get some of those colour wheels to you. And I think that's it. So guys, thanks so much again. And the book, again, if you missed it, is this Pop Manga by Camilla D'Errico. Yeah, so it's got lots of beautiful images. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for being around.